Hey everyone, welcome back. I was just waiting for it to turn on, and it looks like my sound is not connected, so just give me a second. As that's connecting, let me give you the next question. So the question was, as you are practicing Vipassana, is your mind still thinking a lot, or are you trying to quiet your mind and focus on your body sensations only? And my answer to that is yes. So yes, my mind is thinking a lot. And yes, I am trying to focus on my body sensations only. The one part about are you trying to quiet your mind, I'll elaborate on that a little bit and maybe make a slight distinction there. So the way I think about that is in the following way. So rather than thinking about trying to quiet the mind and then focus on body sensations, think of it instead as there are thoughts happening, just as when you're sitting, sometimes you'll hear sounds from the outside. And when that happens, you have a couple of choices. You can either treat it as a distraction. Sorry, the sound might switch. Or you can treat it as something that's happening that's pulling your attention from where you want it to be. So rather than thinking about it as trying to quiet your mind, instead think about it as the mind is doing its thing. It's thinking thoughts just like your ear is doing its thing and hearing sounds. But can you instead redirect your attention, which is so used to being on your thoughts, can you redirect your attention to your breath or your body sensations instead? And then if you think about, maybe if you've been to a 10-day retreat, which is who this set of videos is made for, it's made for that audience. So if you've been to a 10-day retreat, maybe you're comparing your experience at home to the experience you had on retreat. And on retreat, don't forget, you spend 3 or 4 days in silence in a very strict schedule, focusing solely on your breath. And over time, the quantity and quality of your thoughts naturally becomes a little less and a little less intense. So don't think of comparing to that, but think of it as this is a practice in which what you're practicing is being with inputs that are different from what you're intentionally paying attention to. So let me say that again. We are coming in with the intention of bringing our attention onto our body or onto our breath. But while that's happening, there are other sensory inputs. There are sounds, there are thoughts. And our goal is not to shut those down, but rather just to redirect this attention that just wants to wander and go everywhere here and there, to redirect that attention back to our breath or back to our body. And don't think of it as the goal is for the attention to come here, although it in a way is, that's what you're striving for. But don't think of it as if you're not here, you're failing. But think of it instead as the process of bringing your attention from here to here. And the process of recognizing when your attention is starting to wander and then collecting it and bringing it back. That process is the process that we're practicing. So then you don't think about the sit as, oh, my mind wandered and I had a terrible sit, but rather as, oh, I am specifically practicing the act of bringing my attention back. And so then even when you have a lot of thoughts, and even when your mind feels full of those thoughts, that's not a bad sit. That in that case, you are practicing with, ooh, today, this is the quality of my mind. And wow, I can notice that. And okay, I'm noticing that, and I'm also coming back. Noticing that and coming back. Noticing that and coming back. And so if you find that one of your sits is one of those days when there's just so many thoughts, then you can think of, what do you do during that time? Well, during that time, it's suggested that you use the breath as an anchor. And one of the reasons we use the breath is it's a lot, Goenka uses the word gross versus subtle. Another way of thinking about it is it's just a high amplitude signal, or it's something that's easier to pay attention to. So if you're in one of those moments when you're having a lot of thoughts, then just come back to that as something that's easy for you to lock onto, as it were. and keep coming back to that. And don't think of it as I'm failing and I'm succeeding, but think of it as, oh, wow, I'm succeeding and bringing it back. I'm succeeding and bringing it back. And as your ability to do that, either during the sit or over the course of many sits, as that strengthens, then you can start bringing your attention to more subtler sensations or more subtler inputs, such as what it is you're feeling on the body. So I'll pause for a moment. I see that there's a few people watching. If you have questions, you can chat them into the chat window. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up this one Q&A. Maybe as you're waiting, you can practice. What's that like? Where's the attention going, and what's it like to just bring it back? So it looks like someone has a question. Go ahead, please. Maybe next time I'll try to do this on Zoom or something where I can actually see faces and feel like I'm interacting. The question is it possible to not have a sign? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Michael. Can you clarify what you mean by sign? Sorry, Michael, I'm still not able to get your question. I see, is it possible to not have a sign? You've been meditating since 2013. At tip of nose, etc. And I'm sorry, I'm still not quite understanding your question. I'm going to wait maybe another minute to see if I can understand your question. Otherwise, I'd love to maybe take it offline if you type in your question in the comments, if we're not able to resolve it right now. Okay, I'm still trying to get the question from Michael, but Daniel, your question is, you went to a Vipassana center 2 years ago. I want to do something similar, but in the house. Do you have some advice for it? So I have tried in the past to do a home retreat. That's something that's brought up in the courses of doing a home retreat. And I even had some coworkers, when I was working at Google, I said, hey, maybe I'll go in to work for a week and just do a retreat at work, but in a conference room. And I had some friends who said, yeah, we'll support you, we'll bring you food. I found it really difficult to have a good quality retreat, either at home or at work. At work, strangely, it was easier because I have 2 little kids, so it felt actually easier to be somewhat secluded because I was on vacation. And I found that there were just too many distractions. So I have tended to go on retreat every 2 or 3 years. Like I said, I have little kids, I have a supportive wife and kids. And so every 2 or 3 years, I'll try to find a way to go on retreat. So that's what I've ended up doing. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. When I'm at home, though, a couple of things I found. So one is that I wake up early before the rest of the family is up, and that allows me to get my morning hour in. And over the last few months, I've been hosting a Zoom retreat, not a Zoom retreat, a Zoom sit. Even pre-coronavirus, I've been hosting a Zoom sit in the afternoons with some friends that I met on retreat, and that's been amazing. And what I found right now, as well as about 5 years ago when I was doing this at work, is that when you commit to hosting a sit for people, it actually really improves your practice, because you're committing to show up and be there for other people. So I found that doing in the last month, it's been about 2.5 hours a day, an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon, and then about 20-25 minutes putting my kids to bed. And that has really improved my practice a bit. So sorry, I don't know if that answered your question, but I feel like while we're at home, we can try to carve out these little spaces for ourselves. But having the expectation, maybe this is a concise way of putting it, having the expectation of doing an at-home retreat, I think I found in my experience that was very difficult to do, because I was trying to set up the kind of seclusion or the kind of routine that I had on retreat, and that was very difficult to replicate. So I think this has been a couple of minutes, and so I think I will close for now, and I'll try to set these up again every few days. So thanks again. I hope that was useful.